Dragon Age is finally back, and let's just get it out of the way in the first sentence. BioWare has officially ended its recent poor run of form in spectacular fashion. We feel like we have to say it straight away after all the waiting that we've done. It's been a full decade since the glory of Dragon Age Inquisition somehow, and we've been let down by Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem in that time. Our expectations going into this one, especially as forever Dragon Age fans, have been depressingly low. Which, as we all know, is the very best way to be surprised, when the game you've sort of given up hope on turns out to be an absolute cracker. Dragon Age the Veilguard shifts its action RPG shenanigans far to the north of Inquisition. It takes place years after the events of that game, and features a fresh cast of amazing new characters, mixed in with one or two old friends.
Alright, I'll take it from here.
We don't want to give anything away beyond what you already know from trailers, previews, and even reviews at this point. This is a game that's begging to be explored and experienced without being spoiled on any of its many surprises beforehand. But it is of vital importance to point out early on that new players will have zero issues getting to grips with the story.
Ogre!
Do not be put off, intrigued pals and newcomers. If you've never tried this series before, this is a great, big, action-packed blast that requires no previous context. Of course, you'll get a little more emotion and meaning if everyone in your local has been calling you that Dragon Age freak for the past 20 years, but crucially, playing past games is not a requirement in any way.
Help me, anyone!
And this speaks volumes about how well BioWare has designed every single aspect of this one. Everything feels like it's been constructed to maximize enjoyment, whilst minimizing confusion and downtime, and without skimping on any delicious depth to boot. The writing, from lengthy speeches to throwaway battle banter, is exquisite across the board. Level design and region variety are better than ever. Combat is fast and fiendishly addictive, and the way you're funneled through it all, unlocking stylish new skills and hunting down the sweetest loot in RPG land, is all wonderfully streamlined and slick.
And you must be Rook. Heard some colorful things about you.
And they're all true.
Playing as the customizable blank slate Rook, who's up to their neck in trying to fight gods whilst working out if Solas is just a big boldy tool or not. You get to create the Dragon Age character of your dreams. There's a comprehensive suite of options covering all the usual stuff: big muscles, tight pants, and mysterious scar across one eye. You know, choose your look, your gender, your class, your pronouns, your backstory, and rock on into one of 2024's finest and sexiest adventures, we say.
Tarek, now! Meet Bianca. She'd like you to stay a while.
You'll want to be looking your sexiest too, for all of your sexy new friends. The cast of comrades here sure are hotties, as well as when fighting great big fights in all of your sexy new gear. And the sexiness continues unabated in combat, with runes and power-ups, screen-shaking combos and team attacks, and enough variables on all that sexy loot we mentioned to make multiple replays a foregone conclusion.
Fought some demons, and the Archon's palace took a few shots at us. Nothing we couldn't handle.
Speak for yourself.
Dragon Age is, as you may know or may not know, famous for its dialogue choices that affect the story and your relationships in big ways. That's all present and correct here, and without spoilers, there's a bunch of cool key decisions to be made that affect outcomes, available team members, sexy times, and the lay of the land moving forward. Some of these choices are genuinely impressive if they work as they seem to. We've only had time for one very concentrated playthrough so far, and we can see ourselves wanting to go right back through the Veilguard again as soon as we have some time, just to see how it all shakes out with different decisions.
That was close. Wasn't looking forward to being dragged off to a Grey Warden dungeon.
The choices don't stop at dialogue options either, and with a brand new and incredibly addictive combat system in place, Rook has an absolute ton at their disposal when it comes to rinsing the land of the evil blight demons and other infections released by a pair of very naughty gods. This time out, you control your protagonist exclusively, and scraps are all action affairs that call to mind the God of War reboot, and even stuff like Gears of War and how intense it all gets. You'll need to master the use of various powers though, split into fire, ice, necrotic, electrical, and all the usual suspects. And get your head around a moveset that differs greatly depending on which of the 3 initial classes you choose. Once again, there's a ton of inbuilt replayability here, in how differently they all feel to use too. We pinged through our review run as a rogue, giving us the bow for ranged attacks and twin swords for getting up close and personal. From here, you can branch out through a huge skill tree that separates into 3 specializations and can be fully respected at any time. This game wants you to play around and find your comfort zone with its combat, and our rogue went from simple arrows and sword attacks to magic-infused Veil Ranger, capable of darting around, disappearing in a blaze of crows, and lighting up swathes of enemies with devastating electrical specials and AoE fireworks. Choosing a mage or warrior will start you out on a whole other road, roads we haven't even begun to explore yet. But we do know that the warrior feels very different, with the need to switch between weapons and time shield bashes giving combat a different rhythm and flavor. The rest of your comrades do a fantastic job, on normal difficulty at least, of doing exactly what they need to in battle when left to their own devices. But you can also choose to control their next attack yourself. This is done via a quick menu to keep the action pumping, or by pausing the whole shebang mid-scrap to take your time, pick the best attack for each posed threat, and even pull off big-time combos that are helpfully signposted in the UI so you always know when one is available. It's almost hilariously and effortlessly cool at certain points during bigger fights and bosses. Some of the moves that you have at your disposal on timed gauges even allow you to dodge incoming attacks in style. The rogue, as an example of this, can twirl through the air to pull off one particular special attack, and you can time this to dodge a huge enemy shot by twirling in slow-mo through the air whilst replying with a blast of energy. It never gets old, and you can tell it's all been designed to let you do this stuff and play around endlessly with being a badass on the battlefield, with difficulty that scales up through 5 levels from Storyteller to Unbound. You'll likely need to experiment too, if you're looking to grab every achievement on offer. When it comes to enemy variety, there's a great mix of Darkspawn to dig into gutting here. Huge, blighted monstrosities, armored behemoths, and explodey weirdos mixed with tons of smaller foes, useful for charging all of those fancy special moves, and the gamut of boss encounters feels special, bookended as they are with some amazing cutscenes presented in the game's canny choice of graphical design. It all looks great in a stylized, almost Dishonored sort of way, and segueing seamlessly from cutscene to gameplay without a change in visual fidelity makes everything feel so much more immediate and interconnected. If they dropped some more of the cutting-edge graphical stuff in order to make this happen, let us tell you, it was worth it, because these seamless transitions are immediate and hugely impressive.
And the whole world is going to look a lot like this.
The combat is as addictive and action-packed from moment to moment as any big AAA action game we've played this year. It really is that good. And they managed to pack all this in and serve it up in a range of incredibly inventive and exotic locations, populated by interesting side missions and lots of opportunity to explore as you put together a crack squad of Godslayers. Indeed, once you've completed story activities in any of the regions that you can travel to through the magical Mirror Hub area, which is far more impressive than it sounds, you can return at your leisure to pick up side missions and scour every nook and cranny for the many secrets, lore, collectibles, and sexy loot chests of varying rarities dotted cleverly around. There's plenty to return for in short, and we are itching to get into 100% completion. The addition of transmog will be massive in this regard too. It seems like a small thing to some, perhaps, but there is so much scope to customize now. There are so many cool outfits to find, both to dress yourself and your favorite companions how you choose. And it goes hand in hand with how freely the game allows you to respec your abilities and genuinely just run amok, having a great time within gameplay systems that feel fine-tuned and then some.
Finish them now.
You can feel the lessons that have been learned, both from recent failures and from a changed gaming landscape since 2014's Dragon Age Inquisition. There's far less running back and forth, and when you must, it's super quick and easy to find a nearby fast travel point. Conversations are still the beating heart of much of what's going on. This hasn't been skimped on, but they aren't as dragged out and meandering as they have been in the past. There's a slickness to it all that comes across as lessons have been learned very well indeed, thank you.
You're not hearing a word I'm saying, are you?
Uh-huh.
You know you're adorable, right?
Sure, whatever you think is best.
And then there's all the extra gravy. The romance, the banter, the best-in-class writing and acting. And the fact that you can play this offline, like the good old days, with no monetization or constantly online hassles to worry about. It's a beautiful thing. A great big, endlessly replayable action RPG that you could just go get lost in. There's even an amazing photo mode, by the way. We actually had to ban ourselves from it, otherwise this review was never getting done. But you better believe that we'll be going all in on that during our second playthrough. Now, in terms of negatives, there are a few minor issues. Although the game's menus do a hugely impressive job of making all the skills, lore, collectibles, items, stats, and all that very manageable and clear to read, it does eventually start to feel a bit unwieldy when it comes to fast traveling around. It's not a big issue by any means, but we did find ourselves getting a tad flummoxed trying to find the location we were being pointed to from time to time, in the latter third of the experience. This can happen when you're constantly teleporting through mirrors and end up leaving an area entirely by mistake. It's kind of worth it to have so much variety in the places you visit, but it can be a little frustrating at times.
Expect the worst, and you might just get by.
Performance-wise, on Xbox Series X, we ditched the idea of playing in the game's quality mode at this point. It looks great, and you can see the difference in all the fancy bells and whistles, but it isn't worth the drop in frames in a game this action-oriented. Stick it in performance mode, where you lose a little volumetric and granular sweetness for action that has been as smooth as butter for us 99.9% of the time. It all makes for a return to Dragon Age that has been worth every single moment we've had to wait. There's a perfect balance here between old and new, enough ties to the past, cameos and surprises to keep diehards happy, whilst at the same time welcoming a more action-oriented and streamlined experience that should see a lot of new players hop in for the ride. Dragon Age: The Veilguard wants you on the battlefield as much as it wants you in someone's bedroom, clumsily choosing every available option in an attempt to see them naked, and it's all the better for it. We've all been there.
What's important is that you're happy.
Happy? Happy's not it.
Dragon Age: The Veilguard is a triumphant return to form for BioWare. This is a top-class action RPG that lives up to the Dragon Age name whilst laying to rest the ghosts of Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem. With a roster of amazing companions to recruit, a mind-bending world full of exquisite regions to explore, and combat that raises the bar in every possible way for the franchise, this is the good stuff, thank you very much. We were worried, for sure. It's been a long time since the glory days of Inquisition, but we've been served a follow-up here that improves on 2014's game in every way. And that's really saying something. How very exciting. Well, that's a wrap on PJ O'Reilly's loving review, with Pure Xbox awarding Dragon Age: The Veilguard a whopping 9 out of 10. Have you picked this one up? If so, let us know what class you'll rock in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out purexbox.com for the latest Xbox news, and all that's left to say is bye-bye for now. Cheerio!
Onward.